I'm not exactly halfway up a mountain, but it is the next best thing. We're at the Knockhill Circuit in Fife, which is Scotland's premier race venue. We're in the heart of the countryside here in Fife. Way behind me is the Forth Bridge, but the circuit, truly panoramic. Laid out below us, you can see it's going to make for fantastic racing. Knockhill has been the scene of many epic sidecar battles over the years, not least of all featuring the legendary Jock Taylor, who went on to become world champion, one of Scotland's own greatest. He cut his teeth here at Knockhill, and that's really very fitting because we're here for the Eastern Airways British F1 Sidecar Championship Round 3. The second round took place in Brands Hatch. It couldn't be more different, the 2.5 mile Brands Hatch circuit compared to Knockhill. Let's take a look at some of the action from Brands. In gloriously sunny weather, we were faced with a 3-race programme on Brands Hatch race weekend, and it was home ground for Tim Reeves. But from the outset, he knew it was not going to be a walk in the park. Andy Peach and Charlie Richardson took the early advantage, but very quickly, Reevesy sized through. The pole position man, Barry James and James Wynne, at this stage were way down in 4th place, so they had to make a lot of ground. Reeves, at face value, appeared to be getting away from the rest of the pack, but it was not to be. Barry James and Jamie Wynne on the Santander Salt Vivid red bike closed him down, and at what he confesses his own bend, Reeves was undone. Through went James and Wynne to assume the lead. Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence on the customary green number 49 outfit were making terrific headway through the field in the 3rd place battle, but this, the scrap at the lead, Barry James and James Wynne, Tim Reeves and Gregory Clues. It was a 1-2, but Barry James got his first win and beat Reeves for the first time on home soil. He had every reason to be ecstatic with his first race win, and obviously Reeves felt that he had to make amends in race 2, and he shot to the front. Again, it was Andy Peach and Charlie Richardson making one of their lightning starts. Andy Peach's cornering left a little bit to be desired, but Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence were there, tucked in right behind, as indeed was the Scotsman. Look at the green outfit of Roger Lovelock and Rick Lawrence as they came alongside Andy Peach at Paddock Hill Bend, took the inside line and moved up a place. This was the battle at the front, though, again touching fairings. Tim Reeves, not used to being shoved around in the south of England. The battle for 3rd just built and built and built. And on the black outfit, Scott Laurie and James Neve, chased by young Ben Holland, doing great stuff. This, though, resuming the lead, Tim Reeves and Greg Clues. Both of them looked over their shoulder, a wipe of the visor, a shake of the head. Tim Reeves thought it was his job done for the day. Then, a few spots of rain brought chaos. At the front, though, it was business as usual, with Barry James and James Wynne really fighting off one heck of a challenge from Tim Reeves and Greg Clues. At Druid, Scott Laurie and James Neve were making ground as well. They were up to 3rd place and looking very, very strong indeed. And at the front, Barry James scorched to his 2nd win of the day. Jubilation, and just deserts. This puts him back on the championship trail. The final race, then, proved to be a cliffhanger. Tim Reeves, having been complaining about a lack of power from his Honda engine, was out to make amends this time. Surely it could not be 3 defeats in a row. As the pack streamed through Surtees on their way out to the woods, Tim Reeves made sure his advantage and really put the hammer down. Barry James and Jamie Wynne, meanwhile, were caught up in a bit of a tussle, which slowed their progress. Laurie and Neve in 3rd, an almighty spin collected the passenger of Roger Lovelock. Rick Lawrence was left standing while his driver went off down Graham Hill, unaware until that point when he looked left, did a double take to see his man running down over the grass. They had an enormous amount of work to do, starting more than half a lap adrift. There was no way they were going to rejoin the fray, but the young guns swarming all over Andy Peach, Ben Bygrave on the yellow outfit, similarly attired though, race leader Tim Reeves and Greg Clues heading for the checkered flag, showing their rear light to all in sundry. He made no mistake, that time and took his first win in race 3. The battle for third, though, came alive as out of the sidecar came Lee Watson, rolling end over end over end and over 130 miles an hour. Blissfully unaware, his passenger Ben Holland thought he was on the podium. This man definitely was on the podium, a flying pair, Reeves and Clues. That's how the championship stood then after Brands. 115, a massive lead. Laurie and Neve, James and Wynne, just 1 point between them. Ever consistent Lovelock and Lawrence, Peach and Richardson, Bell and Halls, and the Birchalls, again, weren't out to play. Some of those riders in the lower order, of course, will feature. We're only 2 rounds into an 8-round championship. And, of course, if you take Brian Gray down there in 19th, he's one of the walking wounded after the first round Brands Hatch crash, as indeed Cable and Allen. Well, this being round 3 of 8 means that there's still a long way to go in the championship. And even though Tim Reeves has a 44-point lead, it means nothing, frankly, because all of those crews behind are nipping away at his heels. And Knock Hill is exactly the sort of circuit where they can all have a good bite at him. It's anybody's to play for. Let's take a look at the tricky Knock Hill track from the rider's point of view. 1.2 miles is nothing, and it's a blind run to the first downhill drop. Used to be called Duffus, it's now called Seat Curve, but it's a right-left flick falling away. One of the riders here on the solos, John Hopkins, called it a mini Laguna Seca, and he's not too far from the truth here. Through the chicane here at McIntyre's, up over the back. This is the John Weir chicane now, onto the Brabham straight at the back, heading for the right-hander of Clark's, taken in 3rd gear. Get too much power on here, the front's trying to creep away from you. 3rd gear, fast left-hander up to top gear along Hislops. This very, very fast left-hander, and now comes the crunch. Down the gearbox, down the gearbox, down the gearbox, into 2nd. Driving round here, not too much power, and the sprint over the hill to the line. That's 1.2 miles of Knock Hill. Our thanks to Ben Holland for that exhilarating lap. We caught up with him later in the morning. Right, at Brands Hatch, we saw some fantastic action between what I call the young guns of the championship. Now, this has for long been regarded as a sport for more mature riders. Let me tell you, there's some really strong young talent coming through. Ben Bygrave, Callum Lawson, Ben Holland, Lee Watson. Ben Holland, first of all, am I right in thinking this is the first time that you two have actually raced head-to-head like that?
Yeah, I think in the past we've had a couple of little tussles, but nothing as serious as what it was back at Brands. It was a good little dice for a change, but yeah, no, hopefully there's more to come with that.
Well, Ben Bygrave, you were right there. You were right in the mix. You were banging fairings. You must have a bit of his paint on your bike and a bit of your paint. What brings a young man into sidecar racing? It's great for the sport, don't get me wrong. It's lovely to see. What brings you in?
It's a bit of, we used to work for a bloke who used to sidecar race, and he got me into it, really, and just went from there. It's a bit strange, but it's how it happened.
Yeah, Callum, for long the sidecar passenger has been almost a forgotten element, but that's not the case. I mean, I know the sidecar passenger's input is vital, and you obviously get a great kick out of doing what you do.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I like riding with Ben. He's a young talent. He's very good, and every time I go out, he's always on about Ben Holland. We've got to beat him every time. It's always the battle between us two. So whatever we do, we've got to beat him.
So never mind Bill and Ben, it's Ben and Ben. Lee Watson, you had that massive tumble at Brands, and he went over the line with his fist in the air. He thought he'd finish 3rd, but it wasn't going to be, was it?
No, unfortunately not, no. I mean, as you say, it was a very, very good race. With touching fairings at places. I think we went from anywhere from 7th to 3rd, and it was a mad race, and just towards the end, had that one error, and it cost us, unfortunately.
You say an error. Tell us a bit about how it happened.
Well, I mean, I was very, very tired. We had 3 races during the day, and I think Callum will say as well, all the passengers were really tired towards the end of the race. And my arms were just, I couldn't feel them, to be honest. We came out with the left-hander and never really got myself settled back in the bike. I was reaching for the handhold on the right-hand side and reached for it 2 or 3 times, really couldn't get it, and I was just praying that I could stay on until we got to the breaking point. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case. Luckily, Andy missed me, and I had a high-speed trip into the gravel.
Ben, at what point did you know he'd gone?
When I turned around to shake his hand. No, I mean, yeah, I tipped it into clearways, and I had some sort of idea he wasn't there, but yeah, I just thought he'd missed his handhold and he was sat in the middle of the platform, but I had my fingers crossed for it anyway, but no, I turned around to shake his hand and I got nothing back. But
And there's you thinking, yes, podium!
yeah, it would have been nice, but hey-ho, all in good time.
You almost clipped him. I mean, when you saw him tumble out, at what point did you think, oops?
As soon as he did, really. I mean, it's hard to tell wherever you're going to go, really. You don't know where to aim your bike. I just hit the brakes and pulled out of the way. Luckily, he missed him.
Well, I wish you luck, Callum, Ben, and Lee. How about that? Don't they look like a boy band, everybody?
Yeah, Wes.
Start singing.
Well, it takes about 50 seconds to get round Knockhill, a minute in the wet, so a good grid position is absolutely essential. Our 20 crews now are going to do battle on the Knockhill circuit for that grid position. They're off qualifying. Given the weather forecast for the weekend, a good qualifying would be essential here at Knockhill. And for many of the crews using the Avon wet tyres for the first time, Gordon Shand, back from his first round crash at Brands, was one of the unlucky ones with an early retirement. But at the front, Tim Reeves and Greg Clues and Barry James and Jamie Wynn, it was business as usual for them, but you can see just how wet it was. Torrential rain with standing water on certain parts of the circuit. Local man Scott Laurie also gave a good account of himself. He had a huge crowd of fans and friends at Knockhill at the weekend and was anxious to put in a good performance. Andy Peach and Charlie Richardson, with their current championship position looking strong, also were desperate to get a good grid position here. With a full entry at Knockhill, that good start would be essential. And of course, Tim Reeves made no mistakes. Scott Laurie, number 72, got himself in fourth place, therefore, on the second row. A good qualifying by Phil Bell as well. But the surprise package of the day from Banbridge, County Down, the Clark-Graham combination finished third. John Clark and Stuart Graham from Banbridge, County Down, over here at Knockhill. Third place qualifying, John. Unless I'm mistaken, you're best in the championship.
It is the best so far. We've had a third place finish and hopefully we can follow that up, but quite irregular at Knockhill, like the circuit. Conditions weren't great, but same for everybody, so we've just gone on with it and it's worked out well for us. Yeah, thanks to everybody for helping out.
Stuart, it's tight out there, a lot of work to do, but smart new leathers. Are they lucky leathers?
Yeah, well, up to now they've been, and it's great thanks to all the new sponsors we've got on board, namely Cross and Motorcycles, McKinstry Skip Hire, and a new sponsor this weekend, KPM Contracts, and it's without help with people like that, it wouldn't be possible, you know, so they've brought us luck up to now, so hope it continues.
Yeah, it's not a cheap business, is it? I mean, you guys have been together now for 4 years. You obviously feel safe in his hands.
You got to have a bit of trust, and if you haven't got, the team has to get on, and if it doesn't, the whole partnership just doesn't work. So, and we get on well. So, and the proof's in what we do on track. So, it's good.
Barry James, Jamie Wynn. This is becoming a bit of a habit. Here you are, front row start again.
Yeah, second on grid will do us. It's a good place to start. Should get hopefully a clear run into first corner. Try and get away with Tim maybe.
Jamie, it's a difficult course, but I mean, that sounds silly off the back of an Isle of Man race that you've just had. Chalk and cheese, eh?
Yeah, very much chalk and cheese. Unfortunately, we seem to have got the Isle of Man weather here today, but I'm sure we'll cope with that.
Is wet weather something you like, dislike, or do you just get on with it?
To be honest, it's not my favourite. I'd rather it be dry, but you just got to get on with it, haven't you? Just try and race as fast as you can.
You're really close now, from coming from 0 points after round one. Here you are, just 1 point separating second and third. It's going to be one battle, I reckon.
Yeah, it could be interesting, I think. Very interesting. First couple of laps will be exciting to watch.
Round 3 of 8, still a lot to play for. You know, you're still looking ultimately for the title?
Oh, I mean, to get the title, that would be a dream come true, but I think just at the minute, just one round at a time, you know, it's a marathon and not a sprint.
Front row Knockhill, that'll do you though, won't it?
Not a bad place to start, is it?
Even given the absentees, such as the Birchells and those people who were knocked out of proceedings with the Brands Hatch crash, we still had 20 crews, 10 rows. Reeves Clue sitting on top of the pile there from James Wynn. Again, look, John Clark and Graham there. Amazing. Peach and Richardson, row 3. Phil Bell always going well. A good qualifying for Gary Horsepole. He's improving. Rinnan Clark, a man there who's a wild card ride, has got to be pleased with starting from row 7. Well, I'm going to take a short break now. Why don't you do the same? But be sure to join us again after the break when we go racing. Cheers.